ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय छायाभूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वती नामिने। श्रीवार्षभानवी देवी दयिताय कृपाब्धये कृष्णसम्बन्धविज्ञान दायिने प्रभवे नमः। माधुर्योज्ज्वल प्रेमाढ्य श्रीरूपानुगभक्तिदा श्रीगौरकरुणाशक्ति विग्रहाय नमोस्तुते। नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्ते दीनतारिणे रूपानुगाविरुद्धाप सिद्धान्तद्वान्तहारिणे। नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षाद्वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्बारसाम्बोधे पादाम्बुजायते नमः। नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगावरायते गौराविर्भावभूमेस्त्वं निर्देष्टा सज्जनप्रियः वैष्णवसार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिशै नमः। पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकाकांत राधाकांत नमोस्तुते। जयतां सुरतोर्पंगुर मामंदमतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्वापदाम्बोजो राधा मदन मोहनो दिव्यवृंदारण्यकल्पद्रुमादः श्रीमद्रत्नागार सिंहासनस्थौ श्रीमद्राधा श्रीलगोविन्ददेवो हृष्टालिभिसेव्यमानो स्मरामि। श्रीमान् रासरसारम्भी वंशीवटतटस्थितः कर्षं वेणुसनेर्गोपी गोपीनाथः श्रियस्तुनः। तप्तकाञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we'll start with the Vaisheshika. Nyaya Vaisheshika, both are actually brothers. Most of the philosophy is same, but there is a slight difference and distinction. So we'll see the distinction between Nyaya and Vaisheshika, and then go to how to refute Nyaya Vaisheshika philosophy. So you have Vaisheshika student notes, that is the file which you have to open. Nyaya was established propounded by Gautama, who is known as Akshapada, who is also known as Dirghatapas. Nyaya has got many names, Anvishiki, Bhakti Shastra, like that. Now Vaisheshika is propounded by the sage known as Kannada. Kannada. He is also known as Ulluka, and he is also known as Kana Bhuja. He is known as Ulluka because Ulluka means owl. The word owl comes from Ullu. Similar, Ulluka, when it went to Latin, and from Latin it came to English, it became owl. So that shows there's a connection. Why is he called owl? Because he would just whole night. Volume be increased.
Others are able to hear?
I'm speaking.
Others are able to hear?
Yeah.
So maybe problem with him on the other one.
Maybe, yeah. Yes, Nyaya. Yeah. So he was whole day, he was meditating on the atom. And whole night time he would go and then beg something and eat. Daytime, what does owl do? Cannot see in the whole day, it just sleeps. So he would not go out during the day, and in night time he would go and beg something and eat. And people thought, how is he living? And people said that he is eating atoms. That is why he is able to live. So he got the name Kana Bhoja, means one who eats atoms. Kana means atoms, Kana Bhoja. And because he was known as Ulluka, and this system of philosophy also got the name Aulukya. The system of philosophy propounded by Ulluka is known as Aulukya. Anyhow, it's blind only. Blind system of philosophy. Then Vaisheshika means, the meaning of the word Vaisheshika is distinction. Now, this is a very important development in the philosophical thought process, to see distinction between objects and identifying them. How can I say this object is different from this object? By identifying its qualities. When there is distinction in quality, the object becomes different. So you have milk, and the quality of milk is different from quality of curd. Both are same substance in one sense. But still, because the quality has changed, the substance has changed. So our Vaishnava-acharyas have used lot of Vaisheshika principles to establish Krishna has variety, material world has variety, and this variety comes from the spiritual world, from Krishna. So absolute truth is full of variety. It has qualities. So in one sense, Vaisheshika is, if you don't take it as a system, but that Vaisheshika is helping us to establish the Vaishnava philosophy of Vishesha. Ananta Guna Sampanna Narayana. Narayana is full of qualities. So the distinction between Jiva and the Supreme Lord is established by the qualities, the distinct qualities that the Jiva has with the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord has certain different qualities, the Jiva has certain qualities. They are different from each other. So that is how we establish that Jiva is distinct from Ishvara. Dvaita is established because of that. Even the Dvaita, the knowledge of Dvaita, the distinction, that is established by even matter, within matter. Bheda is established. Panchabheda is established because of the Visheshas. How many of you know Panchabheda Siddhanta? Heard about it any time? Panchabheda, yeah. Krishna has heard. Madhvacharyas, yeah. Siddhanta is known as Panchabheda Siddhanta. You have three tattvas, that is Ishvara, Jiva and Prakriti. And these three have 5 distinctions. Jiva Jiva Bheda, Jiveshwara Bheda, Jiva Jada Bheda. Then Ishwara Jada Bheda and Jada Jada Bheda. So this is called Pancha Bheda. There cannot be Ishwara Ishwara Bheda because there is only one Ishwara. He may have many forms, but still that Bheda is transcendental, that is not material. But this Veda is because of Visheshatas. So, lot of Vaisheshika principles were taken to establish the distinction between the Supreme Lord and the living entity, that is Jiveshwara Bheda, distinction between the living entity and matter, distinction between living entity and living entity, distinction between matter and the Supreme Lord, distinction between matter and matter. Yes, distinction between matter and matter. So though all are made up of 5 elements, but still they are distinct. Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he brought up the philosophy of Visheshata through his mother when he was sitting in dirty utensils. Then Mahaprabhu told, this is also made up of earth, water, fire, air. This is also earth, water, fire, air, ether. What is the difference? Then what did mother say? Huh? Huh? No, what did she say? Yes, she said mud and pot are both same. But if I give you milk in mud, can you drink it? But if I give you milk in the pot, then you can drink. Isn't it? The pot is made up of mud. So both are non-different. If I have to give you milk, you want to drink milk? Mud is there, put milk and then give. Can you drink? Huh? Muddy milk you cannot drink. But if you put milk in pot and then give, okay. Kullad mein, huh? Kullad ka chas. Kullad ka chai. That is fine. So, even though you may have both are mud, but the form changes because of its quality. And that's how Visheshata, Vaisheshika has been used to refute Mayavad. We are not accepting Vaisheshika philosophy, it's atomic theory, but distinction. Now, sometimes you must have heard in the temple managers, somebody will come say, Mandir mein bedbha hota hai kya? In front of God, everybody is same. Isn't it? Janma festival, separate line for life, separate, what is this going on? In front of God, all should be same. No, scriptures talks about equal vision. That doesn't mean equality. Equal vision doesn't mean equality. Like mother, she has 3 children. She has equal vision for all the 3 children. But for one, she is only giving milk. For other, she is giving only khichdi. For the other, she is giving chole, batura and all. Is she having equal vision or not? But why there is distinction? Because one is a baby, other is sick, other is healthy. So, there is oneness, there is distinction in oneness. That is called Visheshata. So he was very expert in establishing this principle of Vishesha means specific distinctions. There is evolution from from Nyaya to Vaisheshika. There is one step evolution. But basic fundamentals are same. Atom is the source of everything. And he says combination of atoms. Ultimately both atoms only, atomic theory. And according to them, atoms are eternal. And since atoms cannot be eternal, the Buddhists became more intelligent and says, hey, why are you telling lies? So the Buddhists, they say they are not eternal. Of course, we have the 4 kinds of Buddhists. that will come later. I'm not going to read this section. Yogachara, Madhyamika, Void, Sautrantika and all, Jains and all this will come later. We have a separate file which we're going to talk about it. So just go ahead, don't have to read the purport here. Yeah. Go to the fourth point in that particular file. This work is divided into 10 cantos, containing 2 sections. And also, Prashasthapada, he is the major or the famous commentator on Vaisheshika Sutras. And that book is known as Swartha Dharma Sangraha, the name of the book. It is so famous, it is known as Bhashya, which simply means commentary. In the Indian philosophical discourse, wherever the word Bhashya is used by itself without further specification, it is understood it is referring to the commentary written by Prashasthapada onto the Vaisheshika Sutras written by Kannada. It was very famous. 2 well-known explanations of Prashasthapada's work are Udhyayana Kirana Valli and Sridhara's Nyaya Kandali. So these are some names, information only. The significant feature of the system is the introduction of specific categories of realities called uniqueness, Vishesha. Thus the system is known as Vaisheshika, uniqueness. Vaisheshika is allied to Nyaya system of philosophy. Both systems accept the liberation of the individual self as the end goal. Second, both view ignorance as the root cause of all pain and misery. Both of them, they have come. Both of them believe that liberation is attained only through the right knowledge of reality. So these are certain commonalities. Of course, there are some distinctions. If there is no distinction, then why have a separate category? Every object becomes a separate thing from the other object because of its distinction from the other object. And cognition means how you understand things is actually based on Vaisheshika. I understand an object or a concept or a person, anything, based on its a distinction from the object which already I know. Anybody is Gujarati here? Okay, accept. Theoretical thing, there is a Gujarati here, and he has never been out of Gujarat. And he came to South India one day, or he met a South Indian, and the South Indian asked a Gujarati, do you like to have idlis? Ye kya hota hai? He has never heard this thing. Of course, none of the whole world is eating idlis, that's different. He never heard. Then the South Indian has to explain to the Gujarati what is a idli. Now what is the way he can explain? First, he has to say, do you know what are dhoklas? Dhokla. So then, the dhokla is square, but idli is round. So you explain the the distinction. And by that you are able to explain to him what it is. Then he says, okay, but my dhokla is yellow in color. Of course, you have white dhoklas also. But generally, common dhokla is yellow in color. Then you say, no, this is white in color. Round and white. And it is like dhokla. Now he gets an idea what it is. Now you develop that idea by talking more and more about distinction. So you get idea about Krishna. How? Have you seen Krishna? No. How do you get idea about Krishna? When you speak about How he is distinct from matter, distinct from living entity. So that is how the Jiva Tattva and the Prakriti Tattva has to be analyzed to establish or understand Paratattva. So at the entire Bhagavatam, even the Sandarbhas, is actually analysis of Jiva Tattva, analysis of... How many of you studied Tattva Sandarbhas? Some part of it. Okay. If you do go to the Prameya Kanda, the 10 subject matters are analyzed and a Jiva is also analyzed, so that by these analysis of the 10 subject matters, which is known as the Prakriti Tattva, and also 10 subject means actually 9 subject matters, the first 9, and the Jiva Tattva, when you analyze it, then you have understanding of Krishna. That is why Jiva Tattva has to be studied. That is why the Prakriti Tattva has to be studied. If you don't analyze both, then Paratattva will always be transcendental. Krishna is transcendental, but how long you want him to be transcendental for you? Got it? So in this way you have this, that is how Visheshas come into picture. You understand things through distinctions. That is why distinctions have to be very thoroughly analyzed. Anyway, in anything. So that is where Viveka comes into the picture. Distinction between this and this, qualitative distinctions. And that is how you get more knowledge of anything. Even in matter also, in spirit also, distinctions. And variety, distinction is an aspect to be celebrated. It is not that you make everything same. Even one person, when he cooks every day, he may be cooking dal every day, but there is some variety in it. The variety is the spice of life, isn't it? So, going further, first, the Nyaya philosophy accepts 4 independent sources of knowledge: perception, inference, comparison, and testimony. But Vaisheshikas accept only perception and inference. You know why? That is a big blunder they do. They say even though you study the Veda, ultimately your understanding will be different from others' understanding. Oh. They took the Visheshata to such an extent, distinctions to such an extent, that they will never be able to understand absolute. There will be no acceptance of absolute. And in this way they establish that everything is relative. That paved way to Buddhism, which says there is no conclusion. You will not, there is no Siddhanta. If you conclude, then your conclusion will be different from others' conclusion. So how can you say that your conclusion is absolute? So there is no absolute. Zero, Shunyavad. No absolute means what? Shunyavad. So that is how this Vishesha distinctions, if it is not controlled, and if it is led to, if you give an opportunity for that person to say that, okay, this is according to you, Prabhu, but this is not according to me. Somebody may have some other idea. Somebody may have some idea. Then yato mat tato pat. Yato mat tato pat. So when you are having yato mat tato pat, yato mat tato pat means as many opinions, so many paths. So when you accept that philosophy, ultimately you come to Buddhism. There is no absolute. You cannot have an absolute idea of absolute. So better have no absolute. Now, when you talk of Krishna, one Krishna can be realized by many people in different ways. Isn't it? Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya and Madhurya and 7 secondary ras. So they are seeing the same Krishna and they are realizing 7 different ways. So there is distinction. But that doesn't mean that Krishna is not absolute truth. Just because Kansa saw Krishna in a different way, Krishna doesn't become something else. That is Vaishnava, Visheshta. But here what they say is, because of your perception, the Veda takes a different meaning. Because of your perception, Veda takes different meaning. And both are same. They don't understand that relative realizations, perceptions, is only valid when there is an absolute thing. The whole world just cannot be relative. Relative means relative with regard to something else. With regard to something else. But there should be some absolute where all the relative perceptions are perceived. In this way, that is why the Buddhists, they come to a conclusion that this whole world is having momentary existence. Momentary existence gone, other existence gone. So every idea goes on changing. You go on changing ideas. So the very fact that I want a change, that is coming from your frustration, from mental speculation. The whole culture of Western culture is based on Buddhism because they want change. Change, change, change. You got married, first year, change wife, another wife, change, children, change house, everything you want change. The Vedic culture is not based on that change. Get married, live with her, live with him for whole life, no change. So this is all deeply rooted in these philosophies. They seem to be very nice to hear, but actually a lot of ignorance in that. Okay, Vaisheshikas accept the perception inference only. They say Veda is also accepted based on inference. Very dangerous. Mental speculation. Second, Nyaya maintains that all of reality is comprehended by 16 categories, padarthas, and whereas Vaisheshika recognizes only 7. According to them, what are 7? Dravya, Guna, Karma, Samanya, Samanya it is. Okay. Samanya, that is generality, Vishesha, uniqueness, Samavaya, inherence, and Abhava, non-existence. So these are the 7 padarthas they have. Maybe you understand these 7 and you get self-realization. Now let us go, what is the meaning of each of the things? Padartha. Padartha means what? The object denoted by a word. Object denoted by a word. Pada, artha. Pada means word. Artha means meaning. So padartha. Like, okay, I have this. What is this? Mobile. Huh? This is smart. I get angry on someone and then throw it. What is this? Weapon. So for Vaisheshikas, one object can have different names based on your usage, artha, usage. Now, that doesn't mean when I get angry, I throw on someone, it doesn't become a weapon. I may use it as a weapon, but it has got its intrinsic quality of being a mobile. These days, when they advertise to purchase smartphones, they don't talk about phone, they talk about cameras. This has got 10 cameras in it, but the call drops. 10 cameras, but call drops. So purchase this phone. Why I can purchase a camera, isn't it? Because phone is phone only. Now, what changes you can make? Somebody calls you, talk, whether it is smart or unsmart. To make a fool out of you, they say camera is there. They say 2 internet connections, 2 SIM cards, 3 SIM cards. one SIM card, 10 memory cards, this GB. You can change all these things, but ultimately this is a phone. I purchased this to talk to somebody else who is far away. But you want to show some uniqueness. That is why they add these features. And the features are not connected to the original phone, original substance. So just because I may use an object for different purposes, that doesn't mean the intrinsic quality of the object is not there. There is an absolute intrinsic quality of an object. In the same way, Krishna can be perceived by many people in different ways. That doesn't make Krishna non-absolute. When it applied to phone, it is applied to Krishna. Kamsa saw Krishna. How did he see Krishna? Mrutyur Bhojapater. You know that verse? Mallanam Ashtner. Nranam Naravaro. Srinam Smaro Murtiman. Rangam Gadas Sakraja. When Krishna is entering the arena of the Malla Yuddha, Kansa called Krishna and Balram. We want to have a festival here. So when Krishna entering that arena of wrestling match, so this verse comes, where all are perceiving Krishna. 5 main rasas, 7 secondary rasas. All of them perceived Krishna in different way. And Kansa perceived Krishna as death. If you go and hear it from Kamsa, who is Krishna? What do you say? He is death. Yes, he is death. But that doesn't mean he is not absolute truth. When the gopis saw Krishna in Madhuri Rasa, they saw Krishna as the lover, as Madana, Kamadeva. So, just because there are different perceptions, that doesn't mean there is no absolute. Like morning class at the end I spoke about, sun is an enemy for the blind, of a thief, and neutral for a blind person, and a friend for a normal good person, isn't it? So, just because sun is perceived by somebody else as something, that doesn't mean that he has the absolute understanding of sun. So, just because Krishna is perceived by different people in different ways, that doesn't mean all those perceptions are absolute. Krishna is absolute. But perceptions may not be absolute. Okay? So, these are Padartha. According to Vaisheshik philosophy, all object denoted by word can be broadly divided into 2 main classes, that which exists and that which doesn't exist. 6 of the 7 Padarthas are in the first class, that which exists. In the second class, that doesn't exist. There is only one Padartha, Abhava, which stands for all negative facts such as non-existence of things. Now, after Padartha, Dravya, Guna, Karma, Samanya, Vishesha and Samavaya. These are there. So, according to them, there are certain things which are existing, certain things which are non-existing. That is known as Abhava. That's the end of Vaisheshikas. Why? The reason is, we'll try to know more about Vaisheshikas when our Acharyas, Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu and Vedanta Sutras, they refute the philosophy. So open that particular page or file which says refutation of these theories. Please open the file. Refuting Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Bauddha and Jaina. Here are some verses from Bhagavatam too. Atomic theory. How to make it big. View. Zoom. Page width. Yes. So the Vaisheshika philosophy points that, number one, atoms have no dimension. Atoms combine into molecules that have dimensions. Atoms combine because of adrishta karana, unseen fate. Karana, karma, adrishta karma, yeah, karana, karma. Because of karma, you can say karana also, karma also. Adrishta karma, unseen fate. Atoms combine in fixed, predictable patterns because of samavaya, eternal inherent relationships. Atoms pose the qualities of form, taste, aroma, and touch. So this is their philosophy. And who has written this? Yeah, Vyasa himself. Yeah, Vyasa himself means Vedanta Sutra commentators, Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu, and the commentators on Vedanta Sutras. Vyasa gave the sutra only. But that sutra is like this. You have 2.2.11. That is a sutra. Now, that sutra Vyasa wrote. The commentators, they explain that how this particular section, what is the section? Adhikarana. Adhikarana means what? A particular section. What is Adhikarana? Refuting the atomic theory is Adhikarana. That refutation of atomic theory goes to many sutras. Vyasa wrote only this thing. If atoms were without dimension, then there is no logic in arguing that physical dimensions arise from their combination. This is what Vyasa wrote. Now, when Vyasa is writing this thing, what is he keeping in mind? He is keeping the first aspect of Vaisheshika philosophy in mind. He doesn't mention that. But the commentators on the Vyasa Sutras, they are so intelligent to identify what Vyasa is refuting. So, the Vaisheshika philosophy points out these are the points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. Now, if you go to a Vaisheshika or a Nyayi, can you tell what is your philosophy? He will not be able to tell as clearly as Vedanta Sutra, this Bhashya talks about. As I told yesterday also, day for yesterday suppose. If you want to learn Mayavad, where you should go? Why? They know better about Mayavad because they have defeated. Isn't it? So if you want to learn Vaisheshika, where you should go? To Vaishnava. To a person who learned it by Vedanta Sutra, because he knows better about Vaisheshika than the scholars of Vaisheshika, because they have refuted. You are still learning, but we have refuted. You are defeated. I give the example of a person who is in jail. You have defeated, you caught hold of a person and put him in jail. He is with you in the jail. He knows. He will reveal you. Certain things he may not reveal to his wife. He will reveal to you because you are interrogating him, isn't it? When you catch a terrorist and interrogate, what happens? The person who is interrogating, he knows better about the terrorist than even the handler of the terrorist, isn't it? In the same way, if you consider these philosophies as terrorists, Even the handler of the terrorists, handlers of the terrorists, they also don't know about them. When you catch them, you will beat them nicely, and then you will find more about them. Okay, so coming back to Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu's commentary on this particular subject. 1 minute. I'll just read certain points. Directly from Baladev Vidyabhushan's Bhashya. Refutation of the atomic system. Now, Baladev Vidyabhushan writes, now the author refutes. It is not there in the page. It's not in that. Please, please. Please be there as it is. I did not give the notes just because it will be too confusing. That is why. Now the author refutes the Vaisheshika philosophy. They hold the opinion that there are 4 sets of atoms: physical atoms, watery atoms, astral, fiery atoms, mental, and bauddhika, aerial atoms. These atoms are partless, but possess the quality of color, taste, touch, and smell. So, this whole section is known as refuting the atomic theory. Now, after mentioning this thing, the doubt comes. Samshaya. What is the doubt? Now you say, here arises the doubt. Is it a consisting theory to hold that the world is produced by atoms? Is it consistent? The world is produced by atoms. Purupaksha, those people who are on the side of opposite side, Purupaksha, they say the adrishtas of the soul bring about the union of atoms by setting into motion 2 atoms. And now the atoms thus set into motion, they combine by some God who is known as Adrishta Karma, and the whole world is manifest. Ultimately, Siddhanta is, the creation is not thus brought about. The next sutra shows. So the sutra goes like this. Where is that sutra? What document? Yeah. If atoms are without dimensions, so why this thing came in? Why this Vyasa wrote this sutra? Because there was a doubt. What was the doubt? How can atoms combine by its own will and wish? That was the doubt. Purupaksha means what? The antagonistic view, that is known as Purupaksha. They say there is something called God who is known as Adrishta Karma, which makes the atoms combine in a particular way and have different objects manifest in this world. I'll get back to the point. If I explain how the modern science talks about, then you'll have a better idea because you have studied some science. It has not been seen like that. How did this wood become wood? How did the iron become iron like this? The question is that. And atomic theory says there is something called Adrishta Karma. In physics, modern science, you heard something about entropy, randomness. It may be a little bit difficult for those who have not studied physics, but heard about this word called entropy. You not heard about entropy?
Yes.
Yeah, heard. Randomness. What is the meaning of randomness? Random is what? Chance. Now you know Srila Prabhupada talks about this chance theory. Nothing happens by chance. Nothing happens. There is nothing out chance. Now, if you say chance, that means they are referring to the atomic theory of adrishta karma. So, what the Nyaya Vaisheshikas are talking about adrishta karma, that is reflected in modern science as entropy. And in the practical level, when you want to explain to a layman, what? By chance. And if you want to refute this theory of chance to a layman, what you should do? Go and slap him. Hey, why did you beat me? By chance. By mistake ho gaya. Nothing happens by chance. That is why Ishwaraha Parama Krishna. Ishwaraha Parama. There is a supreme controller. Nothing happens by chance. By mistake. No. There is no mistake in Krishna's creation. There is absolutely no mistake. So there is a intelligence, consciousness behind this creation. Now just see, these Nyaya Vaisheshikas are so intelligent, crookedly intelligent, that they took the shelter of Vedas to present this atheism, gross atheism. There are two, of course many theories, but there are two theories in modern science. Why I am talking modern science? Because that is the latest version or the grossest version of Nyaya Vaisheshikas. You heard about Heisenberg's uncertainty principle? Huh? Just see, they say his position of electron and proton and their position cannot be identified. So it is uncertain. And they say this uncertainty has become a principle. Uncertainty has become a principle. So that's called material existence. Uncertainty is a principle. Anything can happen anytime. When you elect Trump as a president, uncertainty has become a principle. That means anybody can speak anything and say it is truth. It is for the benefit of everyone. Mega. What is mega? Mega? Make America great again. You heard about it? It's in the news. Make, M-A, make America, G, again. M-A-G-A. The big movement. But after this Trump's wrangling or his mental speculation based on Nyaya Vaisheshika theory, so what happened? The perception of America has gone from bad to worse. Bad to worse. Oh, everybody is just saying these Americans have gone mad to elect a mad person. Yeah, it's followed. So all these things happen because you consider that probability is a principle. Uncertainty is a principle. So at all levels, from the political level to the social level to scientific level to the philosophical level you go, they made uncertainty as a principle. Chance as God. Chance as God. When somebody takes drugs, you say, why are you taking drugs? Let me try out. How does a young boy or a girl would try out, become a drug addict? Because they wanted to try out. Let me take chance. What is gambling? Chance. So where does all these things originate from? So when you give up everything in this world is controlled. There is a particular way that this world functions. There is a conscious person behind it. Then everything leads to destruction. So that is the Purva Paksha. The Purva Paksha is what? There is something called Adrishta, called the theory of chance, which guides things and things happen automatically. So for that, it has to be refuted. How it is refuted? Number one, you say atoms have no dimensions. Atoms have no dimensions. When atoms combine, they form dimension. How is it possible? That is the first argument given by Vyasa. If atoms are without dimensions, then there is no logic in arguing that physical dimensions arise from their combination. When you say there is no principle and everything happens by chance, what is your theory also? It is also spoken by chance. Your principle is what? Everything happens by chance. And what are you speaking? Huh?
By chance.
By chance. And your disciples by chance will speak something else also. So if you just give a little bit scope for mental speculation, then that degrades. And the degradation continues and continues and continues to such an extent that you yourself will not be able to identify this your sampradaya. Buddhism started with what? Ahimsa. If Buddha would come and go to China, you know what is the principle in China? What you can eat, anything that moves. Anything that moves. Cockroach, lizard, eat. And they say, Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. We are Buddhists. So that is what mental speculation leads to. Even the acharyas for mental speculation, they would not be able to, they'll be surprised to see their own disciples because you gave scope. That is what happens with the Ritvik philosophy, so-called. It's not a philosophy at all. When you say that you don't require an acharya to your disciple, the disciple will also say, what do you say? I don't require a guru. And this disciple say, what do you say? I don't require a guru. In this way, what happens?
Everybody will become independent.
And they'll become their own acharya. And their disciples, they will not accept. In this way, we are spreading Krishna consciousness everywhere. It's all crazy. Okay. So let us go to the Bhagavatam now. Couple of verses from Bhagavatam that will help us. So this Bhagavatam is 3rd canto, 11th chapter, first 5 verses are quoted, where the material manifestation's ultimate particle, which is individual and not formed into a body, is called atom. From it is Vaisheshika theory only, but from the Bhagavatam point of view. Charamaha sad visheshanam aneko samyukta sada paramanuhu savigneyo nrinam aikyaha brahmo yatha. So the material body is but a combination of such atoms, but it is misunderstood by common man. Now Vaisheshika theory is spoken there in the Bhagavatam, in these 5 verses. So let us go to the last verse and read translation. The division of gross time is calculated as follows. 2 atoms make 1 double atom. 3 double atoms make 1 hexatom. Hexatom, this verse, yeah, stay there. This hexatom is visible in sunshine, which enters to the holes of a window screen. One can clearly see the hexatom goes upwards towards the sky. Morning I told about it. This hexatom. Trishanu. Three Trishanus combined together become hexatom. Three double atoms combined together hexatom. Trishanu. Jalarkavat. So now, these 5 verses, they talk about the Vaisheshika philosophy from the Bhagavatam point of view. And now you may ask whether the atoms, they have size or not. The atoms have no size doesn't mean that it doesn't have size. When it is said that the atoms have no size means it is not perceivable by you. It is not perceivable by you. As much as Krishna body, does it have a size or not? Does Krishna's body have size? Does his hands have length, breadth? It is there. It has. Though it has been described that Krishna's body cannot be measured, that doesn't mean it doesn't have a measurement. I cannot measure. I cannot measure, that doesn't mean that there is no measurement. Can one of you read Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 9th chapter, 32nd verse? One verse before Chatushloki. 32 or 31? Chatushloki is 32 onwards? 33 onwards. So 32. Read 32.
Translation?
Yeah.
All of me, namely my actual eternal form and my transcendental existence, power, qualities, and activities, let all be awakened within you by actual realization out of my causeless mercy.
So, what are the words used in Sanskrit? Can you read that one by one? Yad yavan aham yatha bhavo yad rupam gunakarma. So now, why Krishna spoke these words to Brahma? Why? In the 4 verses which he is going to speak, which is known as Chatushloki Bhagavatam, there is a wide scope of misinterpretation. And you can conclude Mayavad philosophy very nicely by explaining these 4 verses. 4 verses. Now, before he speaks these 4 verses, you have to conclude, you have to get the conclusions based on what I spoke in the 32nd verse. That means, yad, first one is yavan, yavan aham. What is the meaning of yavan aham? Form which has what? Length, breadth, the roundness of the body, roundness of the arms, the length of the arms, the weight of the body. This is all the nature. You can see the purport. Srila Prabhupada talks about it. Got it? So, the principle is like this. Cannot be measured means, it doesn't mean that it has no measurement. So, the Vaisheshikas, they make a big blunder by saying that something cannot be measured means it has no measurement. Atoms also have measurement. as much as Krishna has measurement. But it cannot be measured. So that is where big blunder comes. Actually, in one sense, all ignorance can be termed as Mayavad only, because Mayavad is the mother of all ignorance. These Mayavadis also have this problem, or that is where the problem starts from. If something is measurable, that means it cannot be transcendental. If you talk about form, it should be material only. It should be material only. So, Nyaya Vaisheshikas, they also said atoms have no measurement. It has no form. So, Vyasa caught them. That is, if you say atoms have no form, it has no measurement, how can their combination have measurement? That's the first sutra. Let us go further. Next. What is the second point, second argument? Atoms are not set into motion by Adrishta karma. For Adrishta karma pertains to the pious and impious reactions of living entities, not particles of matter. Now let us see. You have a hydrogen molecule and you have oxygen molecule. You put them together, they combine to become water. We heard about it, isn't it? They combine to become. So who is making it combine? Adrishta karma.
Who's that Adrishta?
Why they are combining? Because the hydrogen atom and the oxygen atom, they have some good or bad karma. That is why they got married and produce water. Now, good or bad karma can only be done and experienced by living symptoms. How can you ascribe consciousness to matter? How can they ascribe consciousness to matter? That is the argument given by Vyasa. So these things belong to good, bad, karma belongs to living. It is like saying that I got drunk and you say I am sinful. The bottle is more sinful. The bottle in which the wine is there, that is more sinful. Can you say that? Huh? Why? At least I eat some food also. This bottle only, it only has alcohol, nothing else. Huh? It is more sinful. Just see this bottle, which is full of alcohol. You shout also, it doesn't react. It is so unconscious. At least I am talking to you. I am not so sinful. It's foolish argument. Isn't it? Just because in the dabba you have Mahaprasad, dabba doesn't become transcendental. You respecting it, you taking it on head, that makes you transcendental. That the very dabba which is holding, that doesn't become pious because of the presence of Mahaprasad in it. The bottle of the alcohol which is holding the alcohol doesn't become sinful because of alcohol, because it is both are unconscious. So how can the adrishta karma, the entropy which you say, entropy, till now nobody has defined what is entropy. Nobody is able to define it. They have a vague idea, oh, something is there. But ultimately, they should accept Krishna, they should accept God. When I was studying this entropy in my 11th and 12th standard, especially when we are doing organic chemistry. This comes in organic chemistry. So what is this entropy? What is this entropy? He asked me, professor. He tried to answer with lot of patience. 2-3 classes I asked this question. One day he called me out, met me outside. You see? See, I also had the same question. When I was in your class, I asked my professor. And he told me I also had the same question. He told him that as a professor. So we were genuine. During our time, the professors really genuine. They were not just. Of course, they had the idea of making us pass the exam, somehow get marks, get into college, and all these things. But this chemistry professor told me this thing. He said, don't ask what is entropy. Only God knows it. Only God knows. Like sometimes in India, when you ask some question, there's this natural saying, what is it? Only God knows. God knows who did it. Bhagavan jane, isn't it? Bhagavan jane. Bhagavan jane. So at that time, when the chemistry professor told me, God knows it, then I thought, maybe this entropy himself is God. This entropy. So this samaya means the natural attraction and the balance which the universe is having. That is called samavaya. Naturally, you see the wood is like wood. The iron is like iron. Everything has its own form, shape, quality. And when you see the lattice structures of the atom, and when you see the molecular arrangements, they are very interesting. Very interesting. You must have seen the photographs in your textbooks. The lattice structure, how this salt is having this structure, this chemical is having this kind of structure. You take iron's molecular structure. It is not just some drawing, it's very interesting. Not only that, you just take some water and then you play music, nice music, and it takes a particular form. Very beautiful. No painter also can paint it. That's called samavaya. It happens not because of adrashta karma, it happens because of a conscious person behind it. So, for adrashta karma pertains to pious and impious. If you pertains to pious and impious reactions, then it is not. How can it pertain to matter? That is the next point. Okay, let's see. So for that, some Bhagavatam verses are there. 6th canto, 1st chapter, 54th verse. The fruitive activities a living entity performs, whether pious or impious, are the unseen cause for the fulfillment of desires. This unseen cause is the root for the living entity's different bodies. Because of his intense desire, the living entity takes birth in a particular family and receives a particular body, which is either like that of his mother or like that of the father. The gross and subtle bodies are created according to his desire. Now, labdha nimittam avyaktam Vyaktavyaktam bhavatyuta yatha yonir yatha bijan swabhavena baliyasa. So the word adrishya karma is being here described as nimittam avyaktam. Nimittam avyaktam. So the God is the one who gives good and bad results. Now, can you say that how bad karma this brick has done for being in the hot sun Can you do that? No. Because this thing doesn't pertain to the non-living substance. It pertains only to the living substance. Now, next Bhagavatam verse. Influential stars, planets, luminaries, and atoms all over the universe are rotating in their respective orbits under the direction, the Supreme, represented by eternal Kala. Grahaksha Tara Chakrastha Paramanu Adina Jagat. It is all by what? Paryeti Animisho Vibhuhu. It is all because of the control of a conscious person. There is a conscious person behind it. Yeah, just let me save it as a Word document, a PDF. Somebody can, those who are putting in this thing, put it in the PDF, because that red marks come, that's not very legible. If you convert into PDF and then post it, that red things will go away. That line markings will go away. So any Word file if I send, convert into PDF so that it's very easy for you. Yeah. Okay, now. Now after talking about Adrishta Karma, who is the god for the non-Nyaya Vaisheshikas, and which is known as entropy for the modern science and many people. Now comes talking about Samavaya. Let's see what is Samavaya. The theory of Samavaya does not explain why atoms combine as they do. By declaring Samaya to be eternal principle inherent in an atom, the Vaisheshika philosophers imply atomic combinations to be eternal. But this is not a fact, even Vaisheshika philosophers admit it. Now, the Samavaya is an eternal principle, the combination is eternal principle. But now we don't find wood and iron combining together. You don't find it. There is no combination happening like that. And they say that the combination, the potency of the combination is inherent in the atom. That means it happens automatically. And the modern science tries to explain it with so many theories of electron, proton, neutron, and you go deeper into it. Now number of electrons and protons, they had to be combined, and they had to maintain this kind of equilibrium. And to maintain that equilibrium, then you need to have positron, and for that, no, you should have an anti-electron also, and there should be anti-neutron also, and ultimately there should be antimatter. I am talking raw physics here. We studied about antimatter in physics because this wood is made up of atoms. Now, after doing so much of research, how the wood atom in that wood is as an atom only, why it is stable. They did more and more research and found out for it to be stable, for the matter to be stable, you require what? Antimatter. And what is this antimatter? Spiritual. But if you say spiritual, you cannot be a scientist. If you say spiritual, so what you say? There's one book called Consciousness, the Missing Link. Consciousness, the Missing Link. You study it sometime, and lot of explanation is given in that particular book. The theory of probability and the chance theory, so many things are there. Inspiration, so many things comes in that book. So this is the, Vyasa has addressed this, saying that Samavaya cannot be an eternal principle inherent in an atom. Even you accept it. So for that, famous example is given from the Bhagavatam, 5:12-9. Evam niruktam chitishabdavrittam asannidhantat paramanavo ye avidyaya manasas kalpitaste esham sammohena krito visheshaha. One may say the varieties arise from the planet Earth itself. However, although the universe may temporarily appear to be truth, it ultimately has no real existence. The Earth was originally created by the combination of atomic principles, but these atomic particles, these particles are impermanent. Actually, the atom is not the cause of the universe, although some philosophers think so. It is not a fact that the varieties found in this material world simply results from atomic juxtaposition or combination. So now you know where is Vaisheshika, Nyaya Vaisheshika found in Srimad Bhagavatam. Got it? So we read Bhagavatam and these words were also read by us and explained by us, but we never thought it is reflecting Vaisheshika. Got it? Next. The Vaisheshika philosophers declare atoms to be eternal and dimensions. They say they possess form, taste, aroma and touch. This is contradictory because temporary things with dimension possess the same varieties. So two sutras are together mentioned here. When you accept atom to be eternal and dimensionless, that means it doesn't have dimensions. They say they possess form, taste, aroma, touch. One place you say they are dimensionless, sometimes you say eternal, at the same time you say they have dimensions, at the same time they are temporary. So your philosophy is contradictory to yourself. What the problem is, you just cannot explain anything without accepting spiritual. Then what does Vaisheshikas do? They impose spiritual qualities onto matter. Spiritual qualities onto matter. To superimpose. That is called juxtaposition. Juxtapose means to superimpose. Like there is a natural tendency in everybody to accept God. But if you accept God, you will be in problem because you have to chant Hare Krishna, and you have to study Veda, and you have to study Bhagavatam, follow 4 principles. So what they do, they cannot live without God. So they take somebody or something as God, and then superimpose the qualities of God onto them. If we also have our God, our God, our God. There is nothing like our God, your God. So for your convenience, what you do? You superimpose the qualities of God onto somebody who is very convenient for you or something, and accept he's our God. So the Nyaya Vaisheshikas, they actually brought matter, atoms, and they said they are God for us, but they are not. So what do? So you superimpose the quality of God. What is that superimpose? Eternity and beyond all dimensions. That means dimensionless means beyond all material dimensions. Sat and Chit, eternal. Chit means conscious. Conscious means which is beyond all matter, which is having no dimensions, whose dimensions cannot be measured. So you superimpose the qualities of God onto somebody who is not God. Sai Baba. He's our God. And then, or somebody, some Ananda comes. He's our God. You know, Jesus is Son of God and He's our God. He's Son of God. You only tell He's Son of God. And ultimately, you have to say He's our God. Nowhere in the Bible it is mentioned Jesus is God. But if you accept somebody else as God, then you have a problem. Because you are in competition with other people. Oh, Jesus is Son of God. Who is God? And you have no idea about God. So what do?
Jesus is God.
You say anything, He's God. So, Nyaya said the same thing, and Vyasa, he refutes them. They call matter as spirit.
So then how can they talk about self-realization? What is itself?
For them, even soul is made up of atoms. But they are special atoms. Like modern science talks about mind, but they don't accept mind. If somebody has some mental problem, he is first taken to a doctor, neurologist. What does a neurologist do? He checks the brain, and he says, very fine. There he is not behaving properly. Then what does the doctor say? Take him to a psychiatrist. Psychiatrist deals with what? Now tell me, does the modern medicine accept existence of mind or not? Do they accept it? No, they don't accept. They don't accept existence of mind. If they accept the existence of mind, they don't even accept the existence of ether. What to speak of mind? But still they say psychologist, a psychiatrist. So I met one psychiatrist and I asked him, what do you mean by mind? Have you seen that? What is the more clinical understanding of mind? Then he told, in the books which talks about psychology, core clinical psychology and psychiatry, he said mind has been described as the electromagnetic radiations which are coming out of the flow of blood in your brain. Yes. So now they take that electromagnetic vibration, actually basically flow of blood in the and superimpose the qualities of mind, emotions, everything. Emotions manifest from that. That is why they say there are certain hormones which will increase your happiness. So this drug contains that hormone. Take this drug, you'll become happy. And that is the reason alcohol is called spirit. When you come out of airport, Mumbai airport, international airport, you just come, the first thing that you see is all alcohol everywhere. I don't know why just alcohol everywhere. There's as if there's nothing else is sold in India. Only alcohol is sold. Scent, alcohol, that's all. Duty free. And then there's a big board, the living liquid. The living liquid. Nyaya Vaisheshikas. The living liquid. Hurry, by drinking that you're going to die. Bhai. How can you say it is living liquid? Even it makes you unconscious. How can you say it is living? So you superimpose the qualities of God onto matter. It is like trying to make matter spiritual.
What is their purpose?
The purpose is that they don't want to control their senses. Unlimited sense enjoyment, unrestricted sense enjoyment.
Means there is no result.
Ah, who likes any control of senses? Once there was a class in a it was actually a video show which was shown to us is a lecture given by, I think it was Rasraj Pro or somebody, I don't remember. So it was 1 hour lecture to the college students. At the end, I liked this conversation, very nice. It was on proof of existence of God. Then one student stood up and said, "Oh, there's no God, it's all just you're fooling us and all this." Was talking all. Then the speaker told, "You see, I gave 1 hour presentation on how God exists and this is the nature of God, and I'm going to give you the mic. I want a 15 minutes presentation from you to prove that God doesn't exist." He was just making statements. There's no God, who has seen, just typical statements. He says, "You are making statements, you are not giving any proof for it. When I am proving that God exists, if you want to come and prove that God doesn't exist, come and give a proof. Please tell me why you are saying there's no God." He was not answering that question. Then the speaker, he turned to other students around and asked, how many of you want to know why he is saying that God is not there? Why he is saying, I'll explain if you want to know. Then everybody said, yes, we want to know. Why is he saying there's no God? He says, see, if God is there, Vedas are there. If Vedas are there, then you have to follow them. And the Vedas says you have to control your senses. And you have to restrict your sense enjoyment. And you want unrestricted sense enjoyment. So if you want unrestricted sense enjoyment, there should be no scriptures, no Veda. And for no Veda, you should have no God. So if you say no God, no scripture. No scripture, no strictures. And you can enjoy. So he's very afraid. If you accept God, then he has to restrain himself.
But they do mention this karma because of karmic reactions and all this matter and overlap. So
Yeah, that is
what
Adrashta
that
karma.
reaction?
Yeah. Karmic, they ascribe everything to matter. Ascribe everything to matter. To such an extent, why are you happy? Why is he not unhappy? Because your brain has done bad karma, his brain has done good karma.
Who's deciding that karma?
That is what is the question.
Who's giving results of that karma?
That is what there is Adrashta karma. Yeah.
So
Anyhow,
they are
so
actually-
they are wrong, but they are so intelligent in presenting that they are so right. Okay. Let's go further. Hey, we have to do some.
What would be their destination
Yes,
final?
the last words.
What would be their final destination?
Hell. Last words. Last sutra to refute Nyaya-Vaisheshikas and concludes. One Adhikarana is over now. What is that Adhikarana? Refutation of Nyaya-Vaisheshikas. Only just how many started with? Which one? 11th? 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 7 sutras were enough to refute Nyaya-Vaisheshikas. Of course, Nyaya-Vaisheshikas produced Buddhists and all, the further goes. That is why he says, great sages do not accept the Vaisheshika philosophy. Therefore, it is to be rejected. Adhikarana 3. Before that, Adhikarana 3, you see that. Vedanta Sutra 2.2.17. Great sages do not accept, that is why great sages do not accept the philosophy, this Vaisheshika philosophy, therefore it is to be rejected. Aparigraha atyantam anapeksha. This is a sutra. Anapeksha means complete rejected. Aparigraha anapeksha atyantam, very, not at all accepted, this philosophy. That's how the Nyaya Vaisheshikas are refuted only in few, because they are not such a big threat to our philosophy. They can be easily defeated, so not much has been done. But because Buddhism became very famous these days, and Vyasa knew that Buddhism will be famous one day, so he gives many sutras to refute Buddhism. So the whole of the next few sutras, how many sutras? 18 all the way till 27. 18 till 27. So many sutras, Vyasa refutes the Buddhist philosophy. And when I met a Buddhist in Thailand, I asked him, what is your philosophy? He says, Buddha is our God. And what do you mean by God? And he spoke about 15 minutes about God. I told that means you are a Vaishnava. And told, what is the teaching of Buddha? And he told, worship God. But Buddhism is atheism. And this atheism is rooted in the Nyaya Vaisheshika philosophy. Okay, just a few points. We'll just try to wrap up this Buddhism today. And tomorrow we'll do Sankhya. Within Buddhism, there are 4 doctrinal schools. 4 schools. What are they? Vaibhashika, Sautrantika, and Yogachara or Vijnanavada, and Madhyamika or Shunyavada. Even Buddhists don't know this. How many schools are there? We don't know. In Thailand, I was there twice, thrice I've been there. The Buddhist monks, they do anything and everything. Of course, except they stay away from women. But they drink alcohol, they go to restaurant, they eat non-veg, they do, they play cards, they gamble, do everything. And somehow they are respected like God. Yes. First time when I landed, I was just going and stood in the general queue. 4 diplomats came. You're a monk? I told, yes. They called me, had a welcome, red carpet, welcome, and then they took me around. Yeah. Yes. Monks are respected. Buddhism, monks are respected a lot. But, just cannot imagine. They just can do anything.
They break 4 religions.
Yeah, they don't associate with women. At least till the time they are monks. For them, it's so flexible. Monk, being a monk is so flexible. He said, I want to be a monk for a year. And later on, he can do anything, no problem. He would just come from a prostitute house and then go to that one matta and say, I want to be a monk for 1 year. I say, why? For that 1 year, he can just do anything except associating with women.
Then how they control their senses?
I don't know. Ask them. Anyhow, when you're frustrated, what control you can do?
Yeah.
So when you're frustrated, what will you do?
Nothing.
That you are a monk during frustration. I want frustrated.
It's as good as it is.
Yeah, hippie. They don't have hair, that's all. The situation of Buddhism is so horrible. They just eat anything. In China, you just cannot travel on the streets. When I was working in ship, my ship was in 1 month in Ximen in China. I just wanted to go see what I went there and saw. And somebody's selling cockroach pickle. And there's a Buddha statue on top of it. Can you imagine?
Actually, Buddha started Ahinsavadi, but
That is what happens. When you give scope for mental speculation, yeah. For them, anyhow, body is nothing to do with soul. So what you're eating goes to the body. Soul is unaffected. Isn't it? Now these days there's a big argument like this even in India. They say meat eating, alcohol you can take, and then because anyway it's for the body. Body is nothing with the soul. What is the answer to it? But you have to tell them, it is true. Whatever you put in the body, the soul is unaffected. But whatever you put in the body, soul is unaffected, but the process of realizing the soul is affected. You got it? It is true, whether you eat anything, the soul is beyond all. And that's the reason we are vegetarians. Not because by eating vegetarianism, eating vegetarian, you are something spiritual. No, that is sattvic. And sattvam sanjayate jnanam. That's the only thing. Philosophically saying, even when you kill a person, the soul cannot be killed. How? By putting one fish in the mouth, how the soul is affected? So just see, there is a tamasic understanding of the philosophy also. And that's called Buddhism. So what is affected is not the soul. The process of self-realization is affected. Matter is matter doesn't matter. That is what you said. So what I eat also doesn't matter to the soul. But what it matters to? The process of realization. Okay. Yeah. So these Buddhism is Shunyavad, Nyaya-Vaisheshikas are so much into Jadavad. So the refutation is also very, very dry. So just bear with me for another 15 minutes, that's all. Tomorrow onwards, when Sankhya comes, it's more closer to you, because Sankhya is atheism, but it's more closer to you in the sense that Srila Prabhupada spoke so much about Sankhya and refuted Sankhya a lot. So there we'll have some better idea of what we are talking. Nyaya-Vaisheshikas, they are not spoken too much in our scriptures directly, but Srila Prabhupada attacked those the grosser aspects of Nyaya-Vaisheshika in the form of modern scientists. Now, first two schools are taken. The first two schools The first two schools divide the material world into two categories of phenomena, physical and mental. Physical and mental. Under these categories are listed 5 skandhas. One skandha called Rupa, including the elements earth, water, fire, air, and the forms that are constructed of these. Not ether. In the morning class I told about ether. Buddhists don't accept ether. Comprise all physical phenomena. The other 4 skandhas comprise mental phenomena. They are Vijnana, the stream of consciousness, that is ego. Vedana, perception of pleasure and pain. Sanjana, names and words. And Sanskara, emotions, impressions like hatred, love, etc. So this is their philosophy. Nothing exists beyond these categories according to the Vaibhashika and Sautrantika Buddhists. Even if the validity of these categories is accepted, they still do not account for everything in the universe, for the spiritual nature of the super soul and the living entity is left out. So, in spite of they categorizing the whole world into these phenomena, what are they? These phenomena, number 1 is the physical phenomena, which is described as skandha. 5 skandhas, out of which the first one is known as Rupa, which is physical, earth, water, fire, air, and the combination of this, number 1, is Rupa. Number 2, Vijnana, Vedana, Sanjana, and Samskara. So total 5. 1 physical, other 4 subtle. So this is Buddhism. Ultimately there are only 5 skandhas. Now what is Vyasa saying by the Sutra 2.2.18 in the Sutra? What does Vyasa say? He says even if you accept these 5 categorizations, but still what about the soul and the super soul? Because none of the 4, earth, water, fire, air, ether, and their combinations is living. Number 2, 2 to 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the 4 things, they are only the emotions and experiences. But who is experiencing? Who is experiencing this? Same experience for 2 people, but the reaction is different. Why? What is it making them so? That is not explained. So, for that, Bhagavatam verse 187:19. And what is 87th chapter talking about? 87th chapter. Yes. The prayers by the personified Vedas, they establish, they talk about the 6 systems of philosophy and refute them. And it has been my project for almost 15 years, but still I have not crossed the first verse.
First verse about
87th chapter. They're very complicated. Just imagine Vedas themselves speaking. And the purports to them are very lengthy and very, very complicated. And to add to that complication, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur, he has written a commentary on it called Shruti Stuti Vyakhya. Shruti Stuti Vyakhya. And he gives 2 meanings to each verse. One meaning which is gross philosophical explanation and the refutation, And other one is the Rasa Tattva from the same verse. Whenever somebody says, Prabhu, why don't you take a course on this, almost it comes to the tip of the tongue. I'll take a course on Shruti Stuti Vyakhya. Then I swallow it. No, not now, next year. So, it refutes Buddhism. Swakrita vichitrayonishu vishannivahe tutaya tara tamatas chakkas amalavat swakritang. One minute, just let me, I'm going to see things. Swakritang kriti ata vitattvasam amushu avitam tattvadhama samam virajadiyo anunyati abhivipanyaya ekarasam. Let us see how it is. Apparently entering among the variegated species of living beings you have created, you inspire them to act, manifesting yourself according to their higher and lower positions, just as fire manifests differently according to the shape of what it burns. Therefore, those of spotless intelligence who are altogether free from material attachment realize your undifferentiated, unchanging self to be the permanent reality among all these impermanent life forms. So he's talking about the super soul. And the example is given that of fire. What does the fire do? It takes different forms according to the same fire, but it is taking different forms according to the shape of the wood. So rest of the verses are there. You can read at your leisure. Now the objection comes. What is the objection? The starting point of the psychological phenomena is not spiritual or conscious. The starting point is ignorance, avidya. Ignorance set into motion an ever-turning causal cycle of 12 phases. Past impressions, sanskaras. Initial awareness, vijnana. The psychological organism and the 6 organs of cognition. The contact of the senses with their objects, sparsha. Previous sense experience, vedana. Thirst to enjoy, trishna. Mental attachment, upadana. The will to be, bhava. Birth, jati. Old age and death, jara marana. 12th, ignorance again. So they cycle. On the Indian national flag, there is a cycle. There is a chakra. What is it called? Buddhism. Garu se komo Hindu hai. We are so much for Hinduism, isn't it? And Bharat Mata ki jai. Indian flag you are raising. What is there in the Indian flag? Ashoka Chakra. It is talking about Buddhism. So much for your Hinduism. And Ashoka is the most dangerous king. Most brutal king who has ever appeared on this planet. What is then comes on?
Was then Muslim?
Was there Muslim? Yes. Most horrible. So how many spokes are there in that? 24. This 24 indicates the cycle of Buddhism. How the samsara. So the Buddhists want to become very intelligent in saying, no. The cause is ignorance. The cause is not Supreme Lord. The cause is not the soul. The cause is ignorance. We also say cause is ignorance. But who made that ignorance influence on you? It is super soul. Isn't it? Who made that ignorance influence on you? Maya. Can it touch the soul without Krishna's sanction? No. So these Buddhists say ignorance itself is the cause. That is where it starts. The 12th cycle is ignorance. But who put the cycle into motion? They don't accept a God. So Buddhism is atheism. So the reply which Vyasa gives is very simple. He says these 12 symptoms, what you say as causes, they are only secondary. They are not primary. In one simple statement. So for that, Bhagavatam verse, where Krishna, he says that I am the potency behind the function of all the organs. I am the functions of these 5 senses, legs, speech, anus, hands and sex organ, as well as the 5 knowledge-getting senses, touch, sight, taste, hearing and smell. I am also the potency by which each of these experiences in particular sense object. Senses perceive the sense objects. So they don't accept the existence of Paramatma. Matter, it functions on its own according to the ignorance. They don't even accept the existence of soul as soul. But they accept reincarnation. Very interesting. They don't accept soul as it should be, but they accept what? Reincarnation.
On what basis?
You should go and ask Buddha. On what basis? You should ask Buddha. But reincarnation. I asked one Buddhist, who reincarnates? Who reincarnates? Oh. I was in Gaya and I was sitting in one matha. Of course, that it is all Shankaracharya's matha, Shankara Matha. Huge property. And the Buddhist, the whole Gaya was belonging to Shankara Matha only. Whole Gaya district belonged to them. But the kings, they destroyed, they took away the property, those Buddhists, and then gave many lands to the Buddhists, the Buddha Gaya and all these things. And only one Jagannath temple is there. Originally established by Shankaracharya, Jagannath temple. Because he knew that Buddhism has got its stronghold in Gaya. So he went and destroyed all the Buddhists, took all the properties, and defeated all the kings, all the Buddhists, established Shankara Matha. And of course the later governments, they wanted to promote Buddhism. So one Buddhist monk came there. Then I had a small casual discussion with him. I did not want to really upset him because very senior person. Then I asked him, do you accept, in Buddhism you accept reincarnation, karma? Karma. It's because of karma only. So then I told, can you tell me who reincarnates? We all reincarnate. Understood. He has no answer for it. He has no answer. Who reincarnates? No answer. Because once you accept somebody reincarnates, you have to accept soul. And then you have to accept somebody who is monitoring that whole process of reincarnation, accept a super soul. They don't do that.
But for Mayavadis, who incarnates the particle of Brahman?
Oh, the Mayavadis, for them, also it is a very difficult question to answer, who reincarnates. Because for them, if you say Jiva is Brahman and Brahman reincarnates, then difficult. So that is why it's covered. Portion of Brahman affected by Maya, then again this point comes, who is that Maya? Maya is more powerful than Brahman then. We will Maya tomorrow's last session, tomorrow, day after tomorrow. Last session is kept only for Mayavad. So there we'll talk about who that's also a question. Because Buddhism is also covered, Mayavad is covered Buddhism. The same problems Mayavadis also have. Who reincarnates? The biggest problem, Mayavadi is a bigger problem, because if you say this particle reincarnates, other particles doesn't reincarnate, why other particle, why this particle only? So Brahman as a whole, this particle is as Brahman only, this particle is reincarnating. How can you say this particle does, this particle is not happening? So very difficult for them to answer.
They can say, like Varahadev is doing something,
Uh,
doesn't mean that Matsya is doing the same.
Yeah, for them the idea of Varahadev and Matsya is also, they are also conditioned. They are not liberated.
They are walking separately.
Like that same thing, yeah. So the very idea of Varahadev and Matsya is also different. Why that particle became Varaha? Why this particle became Matsya? Huh? Isn't it? When Brahman is influenced by Maya, why only this part of Brahman, why not that part of Brahman? That means they are different Brahmans then. Then, so all have been refuted by Madhvacharya, all this Pratimbhyabhavad, and our Acharya is also again a very...
Jainis are there, no? Jain people, they believe in Buddha.
No. These Buddha and Jaina both are eternal ignorance. They manifest and unmanifest sometimes. These Vyasa is refuting Bauddha or Dharma 5,000 years back. It is not that Buddhism came after Buddha came. No. Buddhism was there even before Vyasa. Otherwise, why Vyasa should refute? So that is why the modern scholars, those people, they are very much perturbed.
But the Jain people are so
I'm coming to the word. They're completely disturbed. Buddha appeared 2,500 years back. How did Vyasa refute Buddhism? If that is why, because according to them, Vyasa did not write Vedanta Sutras. Vopadeva wrote Vedanta Sutras, who appeared only in 11th century. Yeah. So he said that Vopadeva, he was a person who wrote Bhagavatam, who wrote Vedanta Sutras. But it is very difficult for them to conceive that Vyasa wrote Buddhism or refuted Buddhism 5,000 years back. Because at that time for them Buddhism is not there. No, Buddhism was there right from the dawn of creation. Jainism was also there from the dawn of creation. Yes. So at certain period of time, some king or some big Vaishya, the Vaishyas, they took shelter of Jainism. Because one big Vaishya, he took shelter of Jainism, being frustrated with the Brahmanas. The Kshatriyas, they took shelter of Buddhism. That is why even today you see all the Jains, they are all which community? Marwadis, they are all Vaishyas. Throughout India, they are all Vaishyas who took Jainism. That is why the big Jain temples. Big businessmen. Jains. Even till today.
Yes.
And who supports Buddhism? Kshatriyas, political people. Even till today. If you want to get into politics, you have to take Buddhists into Buddhism. That is why all, Bhim, Jai Bhim. Political agenda. It's all political agenda. So if you see the Jainism is promoted by Vaishyas, and Kshatriyas have promoted what? Buddhism. Because of their frustration arising from the Brahmanas. Social level. Yes, man, you had something to say.
It is same thing, but they are so they are so strictly follow everything. They don't eat potato and all that. They are so strict. And this Buddhism, they just opposite.
Yeah, because their acharyas, their Jainism did not divide into factions. There are different Shvetambaras and Digambaras, and they maintained their sampradaya and the rules of sampradaya very strictly and rigidly. Whereas Buddhism, they gave license to do anything. Mental speculation. Yes. You take the mic, otherwise people will say.
Two questions.
Ah.
First one was regarding this Buddhism. When they mention this ignorance is, for them, ignorance is the main cause. Like
Yes.
what they're following. The same thing, like you also touched this topic, like in Western tradition also, Swami mentioned like why jiva is under the cycle of karma. So it started like avidya, then prarabdha, usually go to bhava, and then ultimately
Avidya means what for us?
forgetting the original relation.
With whom?
Krishna.
No.
So
When avidya comes, who puts into bondage? It is Krishna who puts into bondage. The bondage is because of Krishna. Bondage, liberation is also because of Krishna. Isn't it? So the definition of avidya according to different schools is different. Okay. So last point for today and we'll finish. Other points, you can read the notes. One point, that is, you go to the, go down, scroll down, then you will find the next sutra, that is 2.2.20. I'll just read this thing and finish for today. Rest of refutation of Buddhism and all is left to you. Buddhists adhere to a doctrine of ever-changing equilibrium, in which an effect is said to exist only when its cause has ceased to exist. Like you put a banyan seed or any seed, then what happens? The tree comes out. Is the seed is there anymore? Over. So the cause and effect theory, as soon as the effect manifests, the cause is destroyed. Now Krishna became this world and Krishna is destroyed. No more God. God has become this world. The atta has become puri now. Over. No atta. Atta has become puri now. It's swaha, digested. So there is ever changing. For them there is no absolute. Every situation, every second is a new thing. Past, gone. The tree is only when the seed is no longer there. That effect which will cease to exist as soon as it becomes the cause. The cause of another effect. Such changes take place everywhere at every moment. Thus, physical and mental existence is but a stream of corollary events that flash by like the frames of a motion picture film. That is why, even though you do the greatest of the sin, over, for new, something new, over. Yeah, battery. You want to put this here, it will go. Emergency, yeah. Yeah. 2 minutes only. So, either frames of film. That is why you do the greatest of the crime, it has no permanent effect. So you are free to do anything and then come up with a fresh face. I'm innocent, I'm a nice person. I murder somebody, हो गया ना, खत्म हो गया ना, हो गया, जाने देना, over. Another crime, no problem. It's a compassion.
This is very appealing.
Very appealing, very convenient. So, accordingly, avidya simply appears and disappears, to be followed by the appearance and disappearance of the sanskaras, vijnana, etc. one after the other. But ever-changing equilibrium forbids any permanent governing principle around which the 12 phases of causation may revolve. So Vyasa, he refutes. For anything to revolve, there should be a substratum. For a circle, when you say it's a circle, there should be a center point, isn't it? There is no. The cycle of the 12 causes is like a wheel of 12 spokes that has no axle on which to turn. If there is no fundamental principle behind these 12 phases, why do the Buddhists describe them as progressing in a set order? They say everything progresses in set order. For it to progress set order, there should be a principle. Like you have a wheel. And for the wheel, there should be a center point. If there is no center point, how can you say this order is followed? The 12, one after the one after order is not followed. So this is how Buddhism is refuted by Vyasa. I just gave a hint. I'm just not talking about Buddhism, not talking about the depth in how it is refuted. That is not a subject. To give you an idea that the Vedanta Sutras and Srimad Bhagavatam, they refute. There is another way of studying this also, that is, I'll take the commentary by Baladev Vidyabhushan and Madhvacharya and Ramanujacharya and then talk about these things. But that is at another level. For that you need to have some idea of how Vedanta Sutras are presented. So that is the reason I'm not doing that. For one or two things I'll do, especially for Sankhya tomorrow, I'll do that. Some 2 or 3 sutras and the commentary by Baladeva Vidyabhushan directly. We'll do it for tomorrow, just for giving you some idea, some taste. So we stop here and then tomorrow we'll do Sankhya. Sankhya. And then what are the things which are left? Yoga. Tomorrow we'll dedicate to Sankhya and Yoga. Day after tomorrow for Purva Mimamsa and Uttar Mimamsa. Sankhya and, because they are like brothers, Sankhya and Yoga. Okay, stop here. I'll send the notes. I'll just, I can send it. Just by evening I'll send to BK. You can put it across. Okay, Hare Krishna. We'll meet tomorrow at 11 o'clock.